Hello everyone, this is Chris with Sticker Fab. Today I'm talking about the installation of the digital mirror for this 2025 Toyota 4Runner. I have a similar setup in our 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. That's actually a Wolfbox. However, Wolfbox is not really letting a lot of online retailers sell their product anymore. So I am offering the HG DO Pro, but if you want to use this as a guide on how to install the Wolfbox, it'll work for that as well. As you can see back here, I have the rear camera mounted, and I'm actually shooting the intro for this well after I've installed this. So I've had this on our vehicle for a little while. This does have Wi-Fi connectivity. It has a 4K front camera and 1080 in the rear, and it has voice controls as well. Turn off screen. I always say that when I get out because I actually have it recording for 4 hours after I stop the vehicle, but let's get into that install. All right, so I'm well into my installation of this digital mirror, and unfortunately the CarPlay hijacked my audio, so I'm trying to do it again to the best of my ability. This trim panel here, you just kind of push it straight down. Push it straight down with a good little jerk on both sides, and you should be able to get that off no problem. To pull this back, you pull from this end because it has tabs on this end. If you pull through those tabs, you'll just break them. So reach your fingers in there, pull it down, and you'll gain access to some of the wiring. Up here, you can see I've already mounted the actual mirror. So I assembled all of this arm onto the mirror so we didn't have to strap it over our factory mirror. And when it is out, if you get it at the right angle, these can open and close no problem. I'm choosing to use a Dongar Pro for the actual power source, and there's a good reason to do that. One, it's super easy to do. It's all plug and play. And two, the only way you're gonna get like a real recording mode while a vehicle is parked is to use that. The parking modes that a lot of these cameras have, all they do is they sense actual movement, sense the car's been rocked, and then they record something. But with the Dongar Pro, you could actually get 4 hours after you stop the vehicle, or you can continuously run down that battery until it's about 11.8 volts or so. So you'll still be able to start the vehicle, but it'll continuously record until it hits that voltage or you get back in your car, and that'll be like actual recording footage. So the Dongar Pro is much more versatile than trying to use their fuse setups that give you kind of that fake parking mode that'll only detect an actual bump or something, because there's a lot of times a lot of things happen in and around your vehicle that it might not record, and you might want to get that footage. But you can set it to 4 hours as well if you just go out here and there. However, most of the time you're parked at home, you're parked in a safe place, so you don't need more than 4 hours of coverage maybe there. But if you go out to a hotel, restaurant, you want to get some footage while you're in and out of that place. What we're using in this vehicle is the 5-pin harness that's over here that actually originally powered the OEM camera. I don't like the OEM camera. A lot of people don't like it because of the resolution, connectivity issues, and the fact that it mounts right here and it's kind of in your line of vision. So I've removed that plate and I've removed the wiring, and instead I've hooked up the Dongar Pro. And as you can see, the GPS wiring and the rear camera, I'm choosing to route that way. So I've routed the wires up through here, in through here, and then back out and down to the mirror. I'm choosing the passenger side. I just like to use the passenger side. And in my experience, the GPS needs to be pointing straight up for the best results. So I have it low on the dash over there. I did have to use a 10mm socket and loosen up this grab handle so that the A-pillar would fall down enough that I could tuck that wire in behind there. All you have to do to access those bolts is use that trim tool popper and just pop these end caps off. On the dash, there's actual foam, so I had to use a screwdriver to push that wire through the foam. Now, the only thing I have left to wire is that rear camera. Here's that rear camera wire, and I've completely unraveled it so that it doesn't have any kinks in it. You will notice there is this red wire. You can hook that up to the reverse signal from your tail lamp if you want to get lines when you're reversing, but I already have those lines on my main screen, and that's what I use to reverse, so I'm not really worried about that. I'll just tuck that in. But now I just got to run all this wiring up through there and all the way to the back. All right, so this back panel has pop clips. I've just unclipped that and I've run the wire through there and up through here, and then I will use that little trim tool to push it all in so you can't see it. I'll continue to run it through here, up and through that seal, up and through there, and all the way up to the front. All right, so real quick, you can see how much slack I had. This could have been used in tons of vehicle applications because it would have been able to run all the way back to like the end of a Suburban. I'm going to actually tuck in all this extra wire right in here so it doesn't get in the way and it's out of view. So you can see right here, I'm just feeding all that extra wire into there. It's going in actually really easily. All right, it kind of went in there until it didn't. There was actually so much line that I had to pull this back, kind of pop this off and tuck it all the way in there. I kind of folded the line over and over again and then just neatly put it in there. I did lose one clip in the middle, but it looks like that's not that important. I am pulling the rubber seal out so I can get the rest of the wire in there. So as you can see, if you just pull this down, it's really easy to make sure that it's kind of sitting on this shelf, and then you put the rubber seal back in. Now, mounting the rear camera is one of the hardest things for me to do. Usually, if I don't have a solution that's already there, you can run it through all this wiring in here, kind of run it through the spoiler and maybe tape it onto there or drill it onto there. Of course, you do have to watch out about that rear windshield wiper, but mounting it inside to me provides two positive benefits. One is that that camera is weatherproofed because it is inside. Now, they're supposed to be weatherproof cameras, but your manager may vary on the results right there. So I've made this mount plate. All right, here it is. It has adhesive on the back of it, but I'm also taking out this fastener for the headliner that goes into this metal bracket, and I'm putting that fastener through my little mount. Double-sided adhesive helps keep it stable and stuck to that carpet as well. And then I will mount that rear camera on top of that. The other benefit to having it inside is I feel like if you're kind of in a dangerous area, you're loading up the back of the vehicle, something happens while you have this popped up, it'll still be recording as well. Whereas if you had it mounted there, it would be pointing up at the sky. So now I'm connecting my camera and I'm gonna put the extra wiring back up in there. I'm going to go around that fastener so it kind of holds it in place. To mount the camera to this additional mount, use the supplied self-tapping screw and make a hole right through the middle. You're going to have to use a bit of pressure, just do this on a flat surface, and then you can run it through that hole and connect the two. Alternatively, you could use these very small screws, and there's washers and a nut on both sides, but these items are really small. I'm just going to use this screw right here. I've attached the adhesive to this mount, and then I'm going to stick it to the very back of this mount plate. The reason we have to use this is because we need to hinge this camera down enough so that it actually sees out the window with no obstruction, or else this little trim here will get in the way of the picture. All right, I think this position works, so I tightened everything down. You can see that it is almost like outside of the vehicle. I noticed that when I added this to our Land Cruiser, I hit it about 2 times and my wife hit it about 2 times, but after that, I pretty much found a way to load and unload stuff without knocking it. It really doesn't get in the way, but if you're loading just these huge boxes, you'll probably hit it a couple times so you get used to it. Let's close this up, and you can see that it is really close to the top of that lift gate. Let's close this up. I'll go on a little drive and make sure everything's good. Also make sure this is perfectly horizontal. All right, so there you have it. Now we have a nice digital camera in our SR5 4Runner. You can swipe left, swipe right to get different views. You want to adjust the front camera so that you get a pretty even, nice view out the front. There's the front view. We can adjust the camera down. Now it's going to record a much larger image than this. It has to crop it to fit the camera. Adjust the rear camera. And at night you can turn the brightness down by just scrolling up or down right here. You can also say show front camera. Okay. Show rear camera. Okay. And use other voice commands to switch through them. But for more videos like this, please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the bell notification icon for the latest and greatest things I'm coming out with for the 2025 and up Toyota 4Runner.